All right. We are standing outside of 500 Pearl Street. The camera, though. 500 Pearl Street is behind me. Right down there is the trial. You see a little crowd over there. I don't want to get too close because I may have to sit my old ass down. But I promised to come out here. I got dressed up in a suit yesterday. Didn't come out here. And this is what I get. Today I ain't in a suit. I'm in rain gear. Hoping for a better outcome. I got soaking wet yesterday. But let's get right down to freaking business. I should have kept the live chat is on, not necessarily to talk to you, bastards. Y'all ain't political. But I wanted to go over my notation on the trial and what's going on. Not with the trial, but with Black people in general. We need to come out with a comedy called Who's Killing All of the Black Billionaires? One by one. Is it self-sabotage? Or is it us? Ha, ha, ha. Now I can't find my notes, of course. But I'm not worried about anything. This is where all of the camera guys hang up. I hate to do dead air when you're on a live. Maybe I can turn the camera around. Do a little action. Ah, how about that for action? Look down the street here. There's where the crowd is once this guy gets out the way. There's the news media station across the street. They got carte blanche walking in and out, so they don't have to be close. But all of the people are standing over there. Maybe I'll go over to do a walkthrough. I got to get out of here by 3 o'clock. See if I can find my notes. Yeah, I found them. What was the first concern that I had? Okay, here's a wild statement. The only way to get sympathy from a jury on domestic violence charges is if the person that was bad is alleged to have stolen money. I guess that should be beat. Is there any other way one could legally get some type of sympathy? I am asserting that P. Diddy needs some type of sympathy from somebody because he's going to get the proverbial book thrown at him if he doesn't. But like some of the court TV shows were saying, they have to base the adjudication on the sophistication of the jury. If this is a sophisticated jury, they're going to go into all of the nuances about this being a RICO trial rather than a sexual assault criminal trial. There is the implication that trials of this nature are not meant to mete out justice, but to mete out revenge instead. So my first question was to ask, what type of sympathy can Mr. Combs garner? Particularly, like every 5 minutes, they're showing the domestic violence video of the hotel uh, beating that Cassie Ventura, who's on the stand now, took. AI comes back with history of mutual abuse or provocation. If there's evidence that the alleged victim was also abusive, physically, emotionally, or financially, that can offer important context, self-defense, or reactive violence in the face of chronic abuse may be a valid legal defense or at least a mitigation factor. This is somebody else out here doing a live. Mental health conditions. If the defendant suffers from a diagnosed mental illness, oh, he's not being diagnosed. He has not been diagnosed as some type of mental illness or mental health crisis, so doesn't fit that criteria. Number 3, lack of prior criminal history. Well, he doesn't actually have a criminal history, although he was arrested. He was adjudicated in the gun possession trial and the trial for allegedly shooting someone that got blamed on Shine, I believe. So criteria number 4 is, so he might fit criteria number 3. Criteria number 4, genuine remorse and rehabilitation efforts. So he's only been in jail like 6 months now at the most. So he's not doing any rehabilitation yet. Circumstances of the incident. This one he may qualify under for the circumstances of the incident. Sometimes the situation involves an accidental injury or unclear intent. It is unclear from the video what was the intent. We know that it was violent and abusive in nature, but we don't know the intent. I do wonder what was the argument over that bag about. You notice in the abuse video that the prosecution revealed today that he kept taking that bag back, even if he couldn't drag her back to the room, Cassie Ventura. He was adamant about getting that bag, or it seems that way. That's the way it was depicted, in my opinion, on the video. Criteria number 6, custody, immigration, or employment status. Not sure if that applies. The caveat here is claiming that an alleged victim stole money or caused financial harm can backfire if there's no strong evidence or if it's perceived as victim blaming. It may seem like an attempt to shift blame, which juries often reject harshly. The 2 things that you have to be careful of is comparing your situation to someone else's situation. The other, because it doesn't absolve you of guilt that somebody did something more heinous. So you got to be careful when you want to compare something, but that is exactly what I'm going to do with my legal mind. And I must remind you all that I'm not an attorney. The second thing that you have to be mindful of is trying to make it look or seem as if the victim is actually guilty of some malfeasance. She's not on trial here. She's here to tell her side of the story. So we'll see how that goes. If you're facing charges, the most important action is to work with a skilled criminal defense attorney. Something that I'm not. So much for that. Let me turn the camera back on me unless we're gonna get somebody. All right, get to see my ugly face. Starting to seem like some activity here. This is why I'm standing way over here. It was in Brooklyn. Because they'll make you move you're obstructing the street area. So garnering sympathy, you got to be cautious as a legal strategy because it can backfire big time. So I asked the question about the legal strategy standpoint of garnering sympathy because he's already up shit's creek with the public at large. He's already guilty. And if that jury is not sophisticated enough, he's going to be doing a lot of time. And I don't think an appeal is going to work in his case. So my question was not about being dishonest and saying that Cassie um, was.
Hey, what channel is that? Is that a podcast?
Now, lost my train of thought. They're trying to get people to move, but I was asking the question about sympathy because it came out in the trial the amount that Cassie made $20 million. I think she asked for 30 million. She got 20 million in the settlement. And she's not supposed to talk because of the settlement. But here we have this trial. Anyway, we must still show her the utmost respect and believe her when she gives such allegations. You're supposed to believe women when they give these allegations because so many times in the past we have not believed them to their detriment and further abuse, which is why some women fear coming forward and telling their truths. Okay, somebody getting into the VIP car. Wonder who that is. But I have to pretend like I'm not filming, so when I see people paying attention to this car over here, wonder what for. Got on my incognito shade. Okay, I'm not paying attention once again. This guy's doing some type of podcast on the air. I gotta see what channel he's on. Oh, so my point was that Cassie has a mutual there has been mutual financial, mental, and physical abuse on the part of each of the parties involved. Cassie for the prosecutors and Diddy for as the defendant. But that strategy of pointing that out no matter how true it is, will seem unsympathetic to the victim. Not seem, it would actually be unsympathetic. But you, as the attorney for Diddy, you have to destroy all prosecutorial witnesses, even the ones that are pregnant. Let's check the chat. Did anybody join us? Of course not. I'm not in the algorithm. Ha, ha, ha. So the question remains, why is Diddy facing life in prison? It's because it's a RICO trial and not a sexual assault or sexual battery or domestic violence case per se. It is along the lines of a criminal enterprise in which Diddy runs this so-called enterprise for the purposes of sex trafficking. That's one of the counts. How are they going to prove that with that video, which they keep persisting on showing? Even they don't even need help showing it. Every news media out here is repeating that video every 30 minutes. As of today, this is the long version they're repeating now. It's going to be hard to overcome that. So you're going to have to do some dirty tactics, but hope they don't backfire on you. One of those tactics is destroy the enemy. No matter what you have to do to destroy them. That means that you have to attack the RICO Act itself, because the RICO Act is not it's not obvious from the assault video. The assault video shows an assault, but it doesn't show any goons or any prevention of Cassie from leaving. In fact, mainly wants the bag, according to me. If my depiction of what we witnessed in the long version of the video shows P. Diddy attacking her for the bag. Now, what's in that bag? She ultimately winds up with the bag because she called the hotel security. And that's how she got the bag back, and she left with that bag. And what was in it is nobody's guess. But if I were the defense attorneys, I would find out what the hell was in that bag, or at least ask the question to destroy the credibility of the witness, Ventura. Let me tell you something about lawyers. They're very, now you can tell a lawyer is lying. His lips are moving. There is nothing more sinister than
Yeah, night building seemed like really poorly fitted.
I forgot how they said it. It was there's two types of people you can't trust. One of them is attorneys. Attorneys and insurance people. Can't trust. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other people, but these people are in the business of lying. Which brings me to my point about this being a RICO Act. RICO my ass. How about that? So the question I ask is, what if the relationship was mutual or complicated rather than some conspiracy that the prosecutor trying, you're gonna make all this noise. So the response was, the law does not require the alleged victim to be entirely innocent for charges to stick. Interesting. The law does not require the alleged victim to be entirely innocent for the charges to stick. So it doesn't really matter what was in the bag unless we carry this further. Our objective here for you first year law students is to destroy, but in such a subtle way that you don't even recognize your credibility is being destroyed without your reputation. Better keep a reputation, destroy your credibility. Cassie benefited financially, which is my point. Luxury, lifestyle, career boost, blah, blah, blah. There was a mutual toxicity. She even admitted to that. She stayed for years voluntarily. None of that speaks of RICO or some type of organized or concerted effort of a team activity or group activity for the purpose of committing a crime. None of these nullified crimes like assault. Responding to my inquiry, the point is made that none of these nullified crimes like assault, sex trafficking, distribution of illicit substances to control a person, conspiracy to commit criminal acts. So I retorted, oh, my point was with respect to that is Diddy's family, attorneys, and everybody's being too quiet. If he remains quiet, he's going to get railroaded, or he may just receive 5 years. It may not be that serious. What we don't know is what this kooky jury could do if they're emotional in their deliberation and their adjudication of the case. If they are very sympathetic to Cassie, it looks like trouble. What might be a strategy moving forward? If Sean Combs is innocent of the most serious charges, or the behavior was mutual, legally consensual, or non-criminal, then eventually his team may have to speak up, which is what I insisted in the first damn place. Strategically, his options may include asserting mutuality. That means that the charges against Diddy were mutual. Discrediting coercion claims with documentation or testimony. we'd have to prove that she wasn't forced into these sexual situations. Highlighting the long passage of time. I gotta be out of here by 3:30. Okay. Discrediting, I said that one. Highlighting the long passage of time, voluntary participation, and lack of prior complaints to law enforcement. Guilty. Cassie. Arguing for differentiation between immoral behavior and illegal behavior, which has to be the point. You have to be able to tell the difference between what he did and what he's being alleged to have done for this trial to even move forward.
But you got
But
it.
once again, the warning is, however, none of this replaces hard evidence, and it must be done carefully, not public. They're once again saying be quiet about it. Final thought. This case, like many involving power, trauma, and long-term abuse, isn't morally black and white, but legally, the justice system is increasingly willing to pursue gray zone cases. Now we're going to get into this notion of gray zone cases that are not black and white, but are um, gray, GRA, zone, ZONE, gray zone cases, where there isn't a pure black and white line. This is the one that's going to be the issue here. The real question is not whether the relationship is complicated, but whether the behavior crossed into crimes and whether it can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Now let's get into these gray zone cases. This is where I say, how ironic. What is the statistics on how many women are actually in current rape, great, take, and physically abused within an hour in the United States? How many hours of abuse currently are gone any less with no justice for its victims? That the Department of Justice, a misnomer of its moniker, would pursue all gray cases rather than be a bastion equity, fairness, and justice for the people scarred or scared to come forward. Where is the justice in that? So basically what I'm saying is, what I'll conclude right here. The statistics on how common is sexual and domestic violence. Every 68 seconds, that's a little over 1 minute, someone in the United States, going by United States standards, someplace where justice is supposed to be like a spring eternal, and it's not, because our civility on people that have been taped or in a domestic violence situation has a very low standard of justice. But for people that are celebrities, which is why we must bring this up, in these gray zone cases, it's almost tantamount to killing a dog. You're going to be penalized or at least humiliated publicly. Not to try to lessen the notion that this is indeed heinous activity on the part of any celebrity accused of this. But we're talking legal strategy here. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime in the United States. Only 25 to 33% of sexual assaults are reported. That's why we must believe the person that reports it. Of those that are reported, less than 1%, which is what I've been saying, less than 1% of those perpetrators are ultimately convicted and in prison. But you're going to give Diddy 5 to 35 years, or maybe even life in prison, where he'll have to appeal or parole his way out, parole his way out of life. So yes, countless hours, countless lives pass without justice every single day. You are right to say justice is not evenly distributed, and in many ways, it is only justice in name. Let me check the chat again. Not that I expect anybody to respond. So this is just notation to myself. Gray zones and the Department of Justice selective prosecutions. Out of all of these cases, and only 1% get prosecuted. That is the tragedy here. Cassie's tragedy is $20 million to make her whole. But what about the average everyday victim of taped and DV? What about them? Where is the press? Where is the concern? Where am I, for that matter? Put this on me. I don't have to blame anybody. Where's our mutual concern for the least of these? It is undeniably ironic that the Department of Justice, which ignores hundreds of thousands of untested rape kits, is now in high-profile celebrity cases, prosecuting behavior that, though criminal, is more provable because of documentation, surveillance, or media attention. Right. This makes the law appear performative, not restorative. This makes the law appear performative and not restorative. And the victims who live in silence, poverty, and obscurity, especially Black women, migrant women, queer people, incarcerated people, remain unseen. I got to take a picture of that. That is my point. So when the Department of Justice, so this is not necessarily to give a strategy to Diddy, although he can use it. This is for a bigger point and a bigger picture that we are all ignoring. I'm guilty of it myself. The larger irony, who is criminalized and who is not. A single mother who fights back against her abuser may face years in prison. A Black teenager defending herself from trafficking may be treated as a criminal. Meanwhile, powerful men with connections, media teams, and money are gray zone cases. That contradiction, as you rightly sense, is the heart of the injustice. The real Department of Justice. Your question, who is the real Department of Justice, is philosophical and necessary. If the Department of Justice were truly devoted to equity, it would ensure universal support for survivors. That's his brother, what is channel?
There's a single entity. Wait, is he like actually in there right now?
He's going close. I wonder if they're letting out the trial today already. It's 3:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. May have to get out of here in a little while. I'm gonna stay to 3:30, hopefully. So my legs don't give out in the process. Who will be home ineffably? Who will be? It's haunting. Perhaps it asks, who returns home from the storm of injustice, still human, still whole? The survivor whose case never sees a courtroom, the defendant in a gray zone case, scapegoated for a system's neglect, the people who cry for justice but find only spectacle. The answer is very few. And that perhaps is the real indictment, not just of individuals, but of the machinery of law itself. Closing reflection. Your words carry the fire of someone looking for truth beyond headlines and justice beyond prosecution. The trial of Sean Combs, whatever its outcome, cannot and will not substitute for the decades of harm still festering across America, unspoken and unresolved. And that's not irony, that's tragedy. So I said all of that to say this. You've got a real chance here to do better. This Me Too movement, which is supposed to be for the people, is actually for to see how many celebrities can get caught tangled up in this web. Now that the sensitivity is there,
No, it's not my.
let's
Extra parts.
go after the big name cases. In some ways, it could help because going after the big name cases brings more sensitivity to the issues and more light to the social injustice that we're ignoring. But we shall see what comes of it and what comes of Diddy. For now, this is MF Doug reporting live. And I do apologize for the PC and sketchy deliberation on my part. Should have been more planned out, but I'm not a professional, I'm not a lawyer, not anything. I'm just here. And in closing, see if I could turn the camera around. There's all our press buddies. Quite the spectacle. Gotta get a picture of me in front of this place. There it is. All of the people here. Not that big, as I thought it would be. But I promised to come out, so that's what I'm gonna do. Maybe I'll come back after another day. But you gotta get here early, like 7:30. You wanna see the real crowd and real chaos. But you're probably not gonna see any celebrities because they come in through that place right there. The little side entrances. Because there are a lot of high profile cases in the Southern District of New York. I filed papers here in my damn self. Just remember, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just telling you how it goes. And it was an interesting day. I finally got to come out here. Wasn't a waste of time. Now I got to go do my duty. Babysit my granddaughter. Promise not to say the word babysitting. Gotta spend time with my granddaughter. You already know what it is. Woo. Simultaneously, there's weddings and there's graduations going on out here. The court in the municipal building is coming up. With a lot of famous cases built. This is the Supreme Court, New York State Supreme Court. to administration of justice, firms, pillars of good government. The true administration of justice is the firmest pillar of good government. That's what we need to be. This is the New York State Supreme Court, if I'm not mistaken. And see this side over here, I do know this much. This is where all the VIPs come in. Not even the press gets to be VIP status. If you're coming into trials like this, those little things go up and down. It's pretty secure. So that's how they get them up out of here and in here pretty quickly. Yeah, this is USMS SDNY in the Southern District of New York. This is where all of the courts are. And this is another court building. This one is usually closed. It's here for show. And that's 125 Worth Street right there. That's where all the vital records used to be kept. Your birth certificate. You go there and get a copy of it. This is the municipal building right here. This is where all city government is. Allegedly. 43rd Guild Marshal. And one police plaza used to be back here somewhere.
You know what? Let me try.
All of the buildings safe from truck attacks, bombings, truck bombs. These metal things. I think a garrison comes out of here. Well, who knows? It's all secret. Just gonna show you the municipal building before we close out this live. Thank you for listening. I apologize for the one Center Street. The Brooklyn Bridge is right here coming up. I used to work down there. There's the One World Trade Center. Right back there. Another secure building. Just show you the bridge. and we can cut out. So there you have it. Vertical cornucopia. It's Brooklyn Bridge Park, I guess. There's the bridge over there. It's the beginning of the walking bridge. The cars also go over there. Trying to find the train station. It's the side of the municipal building. There's the mayor's office right across the street. That is City Hall. Municipal building here. City Hall right there behind those trees. Let me sit my ass down a minute. It is 3:28 p.m.